Hello viewers, this Too Fast here. Now several videos ago, I did a review of the Uniden DFR9 radar detector. In that video I mentioned I will show you how to make your own hardwire kit and install a rear view mirror mount for the radar detector. So in this video I will show you how to make this hardwire kit. With it you'll be able to tap power directly from your fuse box and free up the cigarette lighter plug in your vehicle. Also, you no longer have that ugly power cord dangling on your dash. Now with this type of DIY, it only makes economical sense if you already have some of the tools and parts in your home. Now you can buy a hardwire kit for around $15 online, so it might be worth it if you're going to make more than one kit, or perhaps you really want to try making one yourself. Now before I begin, I want to stress that I'm not responsible for any damages you make if the cable is made incorrectly and cause damage to your radar detector or to your vehicle. For this hardwire kit, the connector you want to use is RJ11 that has 6 positions and 2 contacts, because this hardwire kit only needs 2 wires to power the radar detector. Now RJ11 also comes in 6 positions and 4 contacts. You'll also find RJ connector with 6 positions and 6 contacts, and this is a RJ12. Now with this DIY project, I'm using what I have on hand, and I have a bunch of RJ12 connectors. Keep in mind, RJ11 and RJ12 connector is exactly the same. The difference is the number of contacts on these connectors. So if you count the positions or pins, this is pin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You insert the 2 wires into pin 3 and pin 4. Here's a look at a hardwire kit that was purchased online. You see the negative wire is on pin 3 and the positive wire is on pin 4. These are the 2 middle contacts that we'll be using. As for the wire you want to use, typically the RJ connector works best with 24 gauge wire. Make sure the wire is stranded and not solid copper. These are the supplies I'll be using. Inline fuse. I have this old USB cable that I'll be using for connecting to the radar detector, and it'll run down to the fuse box. A couple of wire strippers, the crimper. First thing I'll do is strip away part of the outer jacket on this 2 wire cable. Here are the 2 wires that we'll be using. The pin out for the radar detector is pin 3 is common, pin 4 is positive 12 volt. Now you want to make sure the common wire and the positive wire is in the right pin. Right now the common is on pin 3 and positive wire is on pin 4. Now crimp it. I'll use a multimeter to ohm out the wire to make sure there are no shorts. That's open. Positive wire to pin 4. It's good. Negative wire to pin 3. And that's good. Here I'm extending the positive wire on the inline fuse with a long red wire. The length you need is about 2 feet. Put a heat shrink over the connection. Here I have the RJ11 cable along with a ground wire that's about 2 feet long. Connect the positive wire from the RJ11 cable to the other wire on the inline fuse. Solder this connection and heat shrink it. Connect the 2 ground wires together. Solder the connection. Heat shrink the connection. Organize the wires together and place a large heat shrink over the wires. Crimp a ring terminal on the end of the ground wire. Here I put a heat shrink on the end of this ring terminal. And here's a look at the finished hardwire kit for the Uniden radar detector. The wiring is very straightforward. On the RJ11 connector, you have 2 wires. The positive wire is on pin 4. It goes down on this wire to the fuse here. I have a 10 amp fuse. Once it passes the fuse, it comes back out on this red wire, and this will connect to the fuse box. Back on the RJ11 connector, you have the negative wire come all the way down, and the ground wire connects to this black wire right here with a ring terminal. That'll get connected to the chassis ground in the vehicle. So all we're doing with the ground wire here is tuck it inside the C-shrink, so it'll give you a nice clean look to it. As a final check, I connected my 12-volt power supply to the hardwire kit. So negative, go on this ring terminal. Positive, go on this red wire. And I'm going to measure pin 3 and 4. And you see on the multimeter is 12 volt, so that's good. Now plug this into the radar detector. As you can see, it powers on. Next, let me show you this rear view mirror mount that I have here. As you can see, it comes with this base that's made for the Uniden radar detector. Now this base also works with the Uniden R3. Now looking at this mount right here, at the top, this is where you clamp onto the rear view mirror. And at the bottom here, you install this base. And this is where you install the radar detector. So let's first install the base. You'll be installing the base using the 2 inside screw holes right here. Now right now you see there's a center screw that's in the way. What we need to do is back that off. Loosen this nut, and you want to loosen this so the center screw is not sticking out. Now tighten this nut. Next we'll install the base. Now with the center part here, there are 2 knobs on the side. You can loosen and tighten this, and this will allow you to adjust the angle of this mount. Now you see there are also 2 long screws right here. If you find these 2 screws are not long enough, you can replace it with these longer ones. And let me tell you, there's one small design issue with this mount that I found when I installed the last one, and that's to do with the clamp right here. The circular arm that goes in the middle right here tend to move around a lot because this bottom piece is flat. So what I ended up doing was I filed down this bottom piece so there's a curve to it, and that allowed for better clamping between the top and bottom piece right here. Here's a look at the piece after I filed this down. You can see there's a nice curve here now. Now let's take this to the vehicle and get it installed. First install the clamp onto the rear view mirror. Tighten the 2 screws at the bottom. Install the radar detector onto the mount, then adjust the angle and tighten the 2 side screws. If you need to remove it, it's very simple. Press a button, pull this out. To install, slide it back on. Plug in the power wire, and then run this wire up to the headliner, over to the A-pillar. Here's a power cable running down on the A-pillar and down to the kick panel. There are 2 connections you need to make. The red wire will go to your fuse box for 12 volt, and the black wire will tie to chassis ground. To connect the positive wire from the hardwire kit to the fuse box, you'll need to use a fuse tap like this one I have here. To find out which fuse is ignition 12 volt on the fuse box, you want to use a multimeter to test which fuse will give you 12 volt when you turn on the ignition. Once you've identified the fuse you want to tap, then remove it and plug that fuse into the bottom slot of this fuse tap. Then plug this entire fuse tap into the fuse box. The output wire you see right here will connect to the positive wire on the hardwire kit. So the 12 volt from the car battery will come in on the left side, go through the fuse, and then out on the right side. Let me show you where I'll be getting the ignition 12 volt on the fuse box. And if you look on this sticker right here, there's a 10 amp fuse that's labeled option, and that's connected to ignition 12 volt, and that corresponds to the 10 amp fuse. I'll remove that 10 amp fuse. So here I have a fuse tap. Now this type of fuse is called a low profile mini, and I'll plug this in to the fuse box. And then clip this wire to the positive wire. Right now I have the positive wire connected, and the negative wire with the ring terminal is bolted down using this grounding bolt right here. Start the car up. The radar detector will turn on. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you want to make your own hardwire kit for your radar detector, I hope this video will give you an idea of how you go about doing it. Now, if you don't want to make one, that's perfectly fine. You can buy one online for about 15 bucks. For a list of all the parts and tools and the hardwire kit itself, along with the rear view mirror mounts, I'll include those links in the description below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, remember to click on a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, please click on the subscribe button to support this channel. Also click on the notification bell so you'll get notified of my new videos. Thank you and have an awesome day.